Welcome to the Do Life and a Body You Love podcast. I'm Nikki O'Day, and we are going to talk about any and every topic that will get you showing up bigger and bolder in your life. Weight loss, relationships, mindset, it's all on the table. It may not come out real PC, but if you're sick of motivational rah-rah talks that don't lead to any real change in your life, then you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode. What's up, my beautiful Do Life and a Body You Love chicks? We're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is coaching. I get so many questions and even a little bit of haters about this topic. And so I want to clarify what it even is and why you need a coach, because I think we all need one, and how to spot a good one from a bad one, because coaching is not a super regulated industry, which I actually love, but then you kind of got to do your due diligence. So, okay, first of all, what even is coaching? Do coaches just boss you around and tell you what to do? No, I mean, I'm kind of bossy because I'm a bossy person, but ideally your coach is not just bossing you around. They're guiding you through some sort of transformation. That's the goal of coaching. So it is not counseling. It's not just giving you, if it's a health coach, they're not just giving you a diet. If it's a business coach, they're not just giving you the tangible things, but they should be facilitating this sort of change with you. So, but they should also be very, very knowledgeable about whatever their area of expertise is. Okay. And so there's coaches for everything. You can get coaches for health. And then if you can subcategorize in that, and you can get a coach for weight loss, which is what I do. You can have coaches for specific pain issues, autoimmune issues, all of these things. You can have relationship coaches. I know some people who specialize in marriages, there's marriage coaches, and there's people who coach women who have just divorced, and people who are going into different seasons of life. And there's just anything that you can think of. There's probably a coach out there for it. I heard the other day about a sleep coach for toddlers. And I was brilliant. She allegedly has these methods that sleep train kids. And it's supposed to work great. So I guess if I were a young mom and I could never get any sleep, you bet I'd be going and finding that chick, right? So here's how I view it. When coaching's done right, and it's not always done right, in my opinion. Y'all know I got lots of opinions, so I'll share those with you today too. But when it's done properly, to me, the benefit, because I myself hire coaches. You guys have heard me talk about this. I hire coaches for everything. I have business coaches, health coaches, whatever. I just told you if I still had a toddler that couldn't sleep through the night, I'd hire a sleep coach. Because the way that I view it is it's getting guidance that can shortcut the time that you spend getting to your goals. So for me, the financial investment that goes along with hiring a coach has always been worth it. Even in fact, when I've hired coaches who didn't deliver what they said they did, we can touch on that a little bit here, but I always gained something. And when it's done appropriately, it's could I go acquire the knowledge that this person is bringing to the table? Yes, I'm a pretty smart cookie, and so are most of you. You could absolutely go attain any of the knowledge that you seek. We live in an information era. Here's the problem with that. If somebody else has studied something relentlessly and they have 10 years of experience under their belt, even 3 years of experience under their belt, and I have 0, why wouldn't I pay to shortcut the result? That's how I look at it. Could I learn as much as my lifting coach? Sure, but he has a super vast knowledge base about this that I'm just not going to be able to acquire. He's always going to be ahead of me because he continues to learn. So I can never catch up to his knowledge. And even if I could, I want results now. I want to be lifting now. I don't want to wait 10 years until I have that knowledge base. So we have this amazing opportunity right now where we live in the information age, or whatever they call it. And so we have an abundance of information. That doesn't mean that all the information that we're exposed to is true, accurate, or helpful. It also doesn't mean that we know how to go apply all of it and make it applicable for us in our unique circumstance. And what can happen is we get information overload, right? This is something that I talk about a lot too, because I see it stall people in like so many areas of life. And so when we go jumping down the Google rabbit hole, the Pinterest rabbit hole, looking for random TikTok videos about it, like however we're seeking information, right? Even if you're going and looking up like scholarly research, do you know how long it takes to actually look through a research study, see if it's even a good study? Like, were the methods even good? Is this thing even peer reviewed? Is the information that they're giving applicable to me, or was this random? Like, it's so incredibly time consuming. And so to me, humans always do better collectively. Like when we can learn from each other and share in each other's knowledge sets. I want to be around people who are driven and are purposeful and have knowledge that I don't have. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm not learning anything, right? Could I go to college and learn about all of these things? Sure, that's a way heftier price tag from what I've ever paid for a coach. So when I look at like what I've paid for business coaches, that's like the heaviest investments that I've made so far in coaching. And some people would balk at what I have spent. But when I look at what I've made to acquire that knowledge and have the help, it's a no-brainer. And it was still way less than what I paid to be a nurse at college. Like, so to me, it's just the best way. Now that this is like an actual industry, I think that I would just be crazy to not take advantage of that, right? But so then let's talk about like what coaching should really be, in my opinion. This is all my opinion, okay? There's multiple ways to skin a cat. People coach in all different ways. I'm just sharing my own personal experience, having been coached and also been a coach. I've been on the receiving end, and I've been on the giving end, so to speak. And then now I'm even stepping into the role of coaching other coaches. And so I have like just a lot of different ways that I've kind of went about this and different experiences with it. So ideally what I'm looking for in a coach, if I'm going to like vet out somebody to hire as a coach, whether it's a small investment or a large investment, these are the things that I want to know. First of all, what is this person's knowledge base? Do they have something to offer that like, I don't want to go acquire this knowledge. Even if I'm interested in the topic, I want the result that this person can give me because of their knowledge without me having to go study it for a long time. So even if I'm interested, maybe I'm being coached and I'm studying at the same time, like what I did with business when I was being business coached. But I didn't want to wait to make money. So it was like, okay, you coach me, you show me the ropes, I'll still continue to study on my own. So what is the knowledge base? So here are some of the benefits aside from knowledge, right? So this person is bringing to the table a knowledge set that you don't have, but you're also getting sometimes accountability, depends on how the program is structured and if you need that or not. You're getting a lot of support and guidance to carry you through some sort of transition that you're trying to make, because knowledge is only half of the equation. And in fact, I would say for weight loss, it's a very small part of the equation. Most of my program, like chicks know everything they need to know about losing weight by the time we're done working together in 12 weeks. It doesn't mean they have all the mindset stuff buttoned up in 12 weeks, but they've started to learn how to change their behavior and learn how to work themselves through some of those mindset things. But like in what I do, it's like 80% mindset. Truly, if somebody's struggling with their health or their weight, it's like 80% mindset. And so for something like that, I think you need more accountability, support, and guidance, and some reassurance that you're on the right path. It's really nice to have somebody to go to who's walked the walk that you're trying to walk, or that has taken other people through this journey, and you can go to them and they can reassure you that you're doing something right, or they can help you tweak and make some modifications if necessary. Because how many times do we stop doing something kind of just because we're not really sure if what we're doing is right? Like I've done that, and I've watched tons and tons of people do it about weight loss and business, where it's like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. Nothing seems to be working. And so I'm just going to throw in the towel, because why put in a bunch of effort to doing something when you're not sure it's going to work? So that lack of belief, that's what stalls a lot of people, no matter what the goal is. And so that's where having a coach can come in handy, because now you know, like, oh, okay, this person has a method to follow that gets people result. I'll follow the method. Great. Okay, so then that brings me to what are the things that I look for when I'm going to hire a coach? So number one, your personality has to jive. And so I don't know if I'm always going to speak to people before I bring them into my programs. The busier that my program gets, maybe I'll stop doing that someday. But for right now, I really enjoy talking to people if I don't know them and just making sure that we jive. Because if you don't like the person who's coaching you, they're not the right coach for you. If you find them to be obnoxious, abrasive, like just whatever it is about their personality, if you just don't like click personality wise, you're not going to have a very good coaching relationship. This has to be somebody who you trust, who you enjoy spending time with, because you're going to be talking to this person. You don't want it to be like a not fun experience, right? So just make sure that your personalities jive. If somebody finds me to be just too extra and too loud and too whatever, I don't want them to hire me because they're going to be stuck with me for 12 weeks. If they're one of my coaching clients, like I'm coaching them in business, they're going to be stuck with me for 17 weeks. So let's make sure we get along. You know what I'm saying? I also try to avoid people who have like extreme tendencies. So this might not apply, I suppose, in like the life coaching realm, although maybe it does, but specifically for health. Like if I'm going to hire a health coach or I'm going to recommend a health coach to somebody else because maybe it's like a service that I don't provide within health coaching, people who are like extreme in their views when it comes to health are typically not really following good, accurate information. There's a lot of like zealotry involved if they're preaching from the mountain that this is the one and only way. And like, you can't have meat. You can only have meat. Gluten's bad for every single person on the planet. Like it's just like these wild things. Then I just personally kind of question their judgment and their rationale for things, because in my opinion and from what I've seen, there's not a whole lot of extremes that are true for all humans. So that brings me to my next point, which is that if it's health, you need a personalized approach for sure. There's nothing cookie cutter. Like if you're hiring a health coach, let's say they're a macro coach. I've talked to so many women who are like, yes, I've had a macro coach before, but it stopped working. And I'm like, that's literally impossible. You adjust the macros and then you keep getting results. Well, my coach never adjusted my macros. And I'm like, oh, so they were just running off of a calculator. So you didn't actually even need a coach for that. You could have just looked up the calendar. You could have just looked up the calculator on your own and just followed random numbers, which by the way, I never recommend anybody do. First of all, you don't necessarily need to count macros, but it is a super effective tool. I do enjoy doing it for myself and my clients, but we build a solid foundation before we even move into macros. And then when we move into macros, we're doing them based on their body. So a lot of people will claim to be coaching about things, but really what they're doing is they're handing out cookie cutter programs. I have programs. I'm not knocking programs. I have systems that I move people through, but then there's customization within all of that. And so you want to make sure that the person can actually tailor things to what your needs are, if that's appropriate. If for some things it may not be, but for health, in my opinion, it almost always needs to be part of the equation. And I only invest with coaches who are currently investing with other coaches, because to me, if you're not willing to invest in yourself and your own personal growth, then I don't want you coaching me. Like I want to go to people who are staying up to date on like the current research, if it's about health, the latest business practices, if it's about marketing, like people who are willing to learn, willing to invest, don't think that they already know it all. Because part of the benefit, again, is that if you're ahead of me in your knowledge base, and you're continuing to learn, I can never catch your knowledge. You're always a step ahead of me. And so, yeah, I want to like pay you for your knowledge, right? But if it's somebody who already thinks that they know everything and they're not learning and they're not working on becoming a better person, that's just probably not somebody that I'm going to jive with or gain a lot from. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's an important one. It may not be to everybody, but that's definitely on my list. And then I want to look at like, what is the promise of their program? What is the transformation that their program is supposed to provide? And then what are their methods or their frameworks for getting you there? Because everybody has a different methodology that they use, right? Even within like weight loss, There's so many different ways. Now, I am not going to tell you, if you call me up and you're like, hey, Nikki, what do we do in your program? I'm not going to walk you step by step through every single detail. But what I can do is explain to you my methods and like why we're doing the things that we're doing, what your macros are going to be, or what are the exact mindset steps that we're going to work on. I'm not going to sit and like break down my entire program for somebody, but I can tell you, here's my framework. This is exactly what we do. And here's the rationale behind it. If they can't tell you that, if they don't have frameworks or methods in place, then they're probably in that phase where they're just like throwing things up against the wall and hoping that it sticks. I'm a systems girl. I need to know that there's a process here. A lot of coaching is giving people, I shouldn't say a lot of coaching that I've seen that wasn't very effective was when people are giving each other like pieces of the puzzle, but they're not giving them the whole thing. So for instance, when I was seeking out business coaches, it would be like, okay, we'll do a webinar or build your email list or whatever the thing was they were telling you to do. And they might give you some really good data, or not data. They might give you some really good info about that one thing, but like that one thing is never going to build a business. You need actual step-by-step. Here's the whole enchilada. And so when I am personally, as a coach, writing programs to bring people in, I like to make sure that like I've got this whole system in place. What are like the things that the majority of people are going to experience? And then I'm going to customize all the rest of that out for them. But there needs to be some sequential order to how you're going to make progress. How are they tracking your progress? A lot of times it's like, let's just get on the phone and talk, and that's fine if you like that and that makes you feel better. But I'm into like results and goal-oriented coaching. And so I want to know that you can take me from point A to point B. Right. And so on that note, I don't go with cheap coaches. Now, my coaching services are actually very reasonably priced, but they're not the Walmart. They're the Gucci. Like, and it is what it is because I know my stuff and I put a lot of time and thought and people get results in my programs. Right. And so when I'm hiring a coach, if somebody's going to like tell me that they're going to give me all of this stuff and they're going to do it for like $50, I'm like, there's just literally no way. There's no way they can provide to me the level of service that I want to make a real transformation. You can get cookie cutter. You can get cookie cutter for cheap, but cookie cutter doesn't work for most people. And that's why most people still struggle, right? So like with dieting, for instance, you can buy some weight loss programs that are like $50, but we've done all of those before. They're diets and they didn't work. You know what I mean? Having somebody to literally lock arms with you and take you through a process, that's totally different. And so you don't need coaches for everything. Like if you keep weight off of your body just fine, then when you get a little bit fluffy, you don't need to turn around and hire me to help you to lose weight, obviously. If your business is booming, well, I would say you still always, like if you're in business, you always need a coach. That's my opinion. Because there's always mindset things that have to be worked out and marketing things that you can tweak and whatever. But like, you don't need, like, if something in your life is pretty smooth, I probably wouldn't go hire a coach for something that's real smooth. Although I've been tempted. Like, I'm like, well, this area of my life is pretty buttoned up, but this person looks like they're doing cool stuff. I've considered it, but looking at, like, if you think that this sounds like a kind of a strange process and you're like, oh, I don't know, I think maybe I need a coach for some things. Look at which area of your life would have the biggest impact for you to make a change. Is it your health? Is it your finances? Is it a relationship? Is it parenting? Like there's parenting coaches, for crying out loud. There are coaches that are faith-based for different things. And so like, what's the thing? What's the thing that's going to like turn things around for you? So like for my clients for weight, it is getting back their confidence is going to affect everything else, or their ability to like walk up and down the stairs without being short of breath. Then they're going to have more energy. They're going to be able to play with the kids. They're going to be able to do all of these things. So for them, it's like, yeah, this is the area that I need to button up. But for other people, it might be financial. I've seen coaches that help people like just like save money. And I think that's awesome. I'm probably going to hire one of them. So like there's all these different things. So just to kind of do a brain dump, like what are the areas of life that you want to make an improvement? And then you have to just decide, like, is it worth the investment of your time and your money to have somebody to like lock arms with and get the job done. And it's not to say that every coaching experience is going to be magical, but just vet out your coaches the best that you can, kind of follow them on social media, see the type of stuff that they're putting out there. Do you agree with it? Disagree with it? What's the vibe? Do you like this person? All of that jazz. And then most coaches are happy to talk to you in a non-pushy way about their services. So reach out to that person. If I reach out to somebody about their services and then they're like extra pushy all over me, we're done, because that's not how I roll. You can call me out on my objections and you can coach me through that and you can get real with me and explain to me why I need you. That's cool. But if they start like stalking me and stuff, then I'm like, bye. But most coaches aren't going to do that. Most coaches aren't super salesy in that way. They're not like super like gross and spammy and stuff like that. So if you have somebody on social media that you've been following that you're like, I really want to know more about how she gets kids to sleep through the night. That's crazy. I need to know about that. Reach out, send them a message. And if you guys have any questions about the coaching process in general, reach out to me. I'm happy to share with you my experience, both from the coaching side of things and also the fact that I get coached. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I'm super obsessed with coaching, as you guys know. And so I'm happy to chat about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've had some great coaching experiences, I'd love to hear about it. And I will catch you chicks next week. Thanks for tuning in. It is my mission to give women back the confidence that they need to show up bigger in their lives. Right now, the world more than ever needs women who are on fire and living their purpose. If you want to join me in this mission, there's a few things you can do. 1, you can share this podcast with the women in your circle. 2, you can join me in my Facebook group, Simplified Fat Loss, or you can subscribe to my newsletter at nikkioday.com.